जय श्री माता जी। हम सब श्री माता जी की चरणों में प्रणाम करके अपनी कुंडली चढ़ा के सामूहिक बंधन लेंगे। वी humbly bow down to Shri Mataji's lotus feet. Raise your kundalini and put ourselves bandhan. अपने चित्त को संसार में रखते हुए ध्यान में रहेंगे और श्री माता जी की अमृतवाणी आत्मसात करेंगे. नाउ वी विल लिसन श्री माता जी अमृतवाणी.
Good evening. It is very strong a feeling that so many times we are in another country, although we are in this country. Tonight we have the opportunity of really make a long travel in wisdom, in distance, in space, in our hearts, in truth. This is all the elements that are concentrated in the presence of a Holy Mother that we have invited here, and we are very grateful that we have you all the way from one of the oldest civilizations. You know, we are very proud that we are members of a very old civilization, and very rarely we realize how other old civilizations shine in other places in the world. So we do welcome you here, along with the truth you carry for us. We would like to ask you about this truth in the way you see this same world, this other country, which is every country, which is our heart.
We have to know one thing, what the truth is. The truth is, actually we are not this body, mind, intellect, emotions, ego, but we are the spirit. And in our evolutionary process, we have reached the stage of human awareness. And beyond this, there's a little breakthrough by which we have to become the spirit. That's very simple and can be done very easily for people who are seeking the truth.
How would you describe the system of your thought, the system that you approach our hearts and our minds?
Yes. You'll be amazed to know that in Greece people called a bone sacrum, which is the triangular bone, and that means they knew there was something sacred about that bone. Now this bone has got within itself a residual power which is for our connection to this all-pervading divine power. All the scriptures have talked about all-pervading divine love and everything, but we have never felt it before. It's a surprising thing that we take all living things for granted, for our heart. How it beats. We see the flowers grow, we don't know how it grows. But if you understand that there is some power which is doing all this living work, then the time has come for us to know it, to feel it, to understand it, and also to use it.
How do you think that people have arrived in so many conclusions that they call religions? And what is the connection between this way of approaching ourselves, of the truth which is one, and your old tradition in your country, which I assume is India?
Now, in all the religions and scriptures is written that you have to transform, you have to be born again. Every religion has said that. This is not only that any particular religion has said it. Every religion, even Islam, has said you have to be a wali. Even Christianity has said you have to be born again. I mean, there's no religion which has not said that. But it is not just a certificate. You cannot take just a certificate, I'm born again. It is something that actualizes by which you develop a new state of your mind, state of your being, by which you become the spirit. And there are powers of the spirit which you manifest. It's not just talking and giving sermons and lectures, but it is something that's an actualization, is a living process.
I think we Greeks belong to what we call the East part of philosophy, of religions. This is a system which is mostly esoteric. This is a very Greek word, which is seeking inside. I think this is quite relevant and close to the very ancient Indian tradition.
Yes, of course.
Now, how close do you think these very old religious systems are? I'm talking about the pagan, our own ancestors, before Christianity, even the Jewish or the other Hindu, Buddhist, and the rest, you know.
You see, especially in Greece, you had the ancient system of worshipping the goddess Athena. Now in Sanskrit, Atha means the primordial. So to us, she is the primordial mother, that we call in our language as Adi Shakti. She is the primordial mother. And she has, you must see a snake in her shield and also in her hand. That is the symbol of this power within you which lies dormant in your triangular bone called as sacrum. So the Greeks knew about it, no doubt, because otherwise they would not have called her Athena, and she must have been. In our scriptures, she is described very well. Not only that, but Greece is called as Manipur, Gripe, means the navel of the universe.
Yes. Certainly, it was a surprise for me to see that you come here to preach our own ancient gods.
Yes,
now, what are you telling us about Athena is that the serpents with Greek gods are very familiar creatures,
yes,
having to do with medicine and others. Now, what is the message of Athena coming from you again nowadays?
Athena is the one, that she is the one who was trying to push her spear into the fontanelle bone of Zeus. Now that's exactly what Sahaja Yoga is. We think, or not we believe, and that we have proved also, that this power which we call as Kundalini, because it is like a serpent going into coils.
Yes.
Because it's an energy that moves like a serpent. You see, more symbolic it is, not the serpent actually. So this is the power which is the reflection of Athena within us. And when she rises, she goes and hits here and opens out your fontanelle bone. That's actualization of the baptism as described in Christianity. By that, then you are connected with that subtle energy which is all pervading. For the first time, you start feeling that cool breeze in your hand, which is described as the cool breeze of the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost is the same as Athena, but I think Christians could not connect it with that. She is the same.
We see that all these sanctities along history come and repeat themselves and transfigurate themselves according to the tradition of peoples.
Of course.
Now, you have referred to yoga, and of course in this part of the world we are more or less familiar. Now, for those who are less, I would like you to found what we're talking now in this yoga and give us some ideas about the wide spectrum of what we would call yoga.
You see, yoga is where you unite. It's the union between yourself with the divine. Is yoga. That's the real spiritual yoga. All other yogas like physical yogas and all that is a wee part of what one Patanjali wrote. It's a very wee part that to cleanse your body and all that is there. But there is no need now to do all that. First, in the modern times, what if I have done any work is this, that people used to get self-realization, all right. But one master had only one disciple. Gradually it started in a way that they started talking about it. From the, I think, 12th century it became more open, but it has been there for years together. Now, when they started talking about it, they couldn't give a mass realization. They could only give to one person. So the only thing that I have done is to work out the permutations and combinations of human nature, by which I have understood how to give a mass realization. And that's the only achievement of modern Sahaja Yoga. Sahaja Yoga is an ancient system in India, also must have been here because the way the sacrum bone is there and she's having all those things. But the practice of that may not have been so open, might have been secretive in those days, where they were giving realization to people. And it's ancient times, thousands of years back. So, but in India we have still maintained all those traditions and things, and we still respect and worship the Mother Goddess. Athena we respect. She's called as Adi Shakti, name is different, and she is the Holy Ghost according to us. Now this works out, it's in everyone, it's your own power within you, and it works out, and it rises and pierces through your fontanelle bone area. It does. It actualizes the experience which is described. And that's what one has to feel. Otherwise it's just talk, 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 talk. Any religion has become nothing but talk. So you see, people are now fed up. They think, what is this promising, claiming? Nothing happens to us, we are just the same. Our forefathers were such and we are just the same. But now the time has come, it's a new age, as I say, to achieve that state. A new state where you become, firstly, you become thoughtlessly aware. Means you live in the present. Thoughts come to you from the past and from the future. You are dancing on the cusp of the thoughts. But when this happens, the thoughts are separated, and in between the thoughts there's a space which we call as the present, which is reality. Present is the reality because the past is finished and the future doesn't exist. So you live in the present. When you live in the present, you start growing spiritually. And that's what happens to you first, that you become thoughtlessly aware. The second thing happens to you, that you start feeling that cool breeze on your hands. Now, it's medically you know that these are the endings of the sympathetic nervous system. So what happens that when you get your realization, you start feeling this cool breeze all along, and you start feeling those things on your fingertips. Now supposing if you have a problem in any one of these centers, there are 7 centers, 5, 6 and 7. Immediately you feel it on your finger. You don't have to go to doctor for diagnosis, immediately you know. Now if you know how to cure it, then physically you can be cured. Mentally you can be cured. Also, all our human problems, or I should say all the world's problems, are because of human beings, and all our human problems are because of our centers which are within us. So when this power rises, she nourishes them, she integrates them. So we get physical, mental, emotional problems solved. And then you feel your own peace within yourself. But the second thing that you achieve is a new awareness, which we call as collective consciousness. That is where you can feel not only your own centers, but also the centers of others. Now when you grow spiritually, then sitting down here you can feel centers of anyone. Sitting down here you can correct the centers of other people. But you have to grow. But in the beginning, you start feeling the joy of your being. Because in your heart resides the spirit. And spirit is the source of joy. It is the source of absolute truth. So you know also absolute truth. Because on your fingertips you can ask any question. They might say, was Christ the Son of God? Alright, ask the question. Immediately you start getting tremendous vibrations. Surprisingly, Athena is also called as Palas. Palas means vibrations. Means she gives vibrations. So these vibrations will tell you the absolute truth. Because we live in relative world, that's why we are fighting. Once we are in the absolute, there's no fight, no problems. Now, this once happens, you become collectively conscious, and who is the other? Everybody is within your body. You can feel everyone within yourself. So you become a universal personality. This is the character of your spirit. Because spirit is a reflection of God Almighty within you, which is in everyone. But it is just a witness till you are a realized soul. But once you become a realized soul, then it starts manifesting. It manifests, and you also raise the kundalini of others. You can give realization to others. It's like if you enlighten one candle, that candle can enlighten another candle. So that's how it spreads.
It is very interesting, and while you're talking, I'm writing down certain things that come in a contrast to what we're used to in the so-called Western world. I'm wondering the split between body and mind that we suffer is something that you do not suffer of. And it is wonderful how people in the Far East, and of course their spirit, is not schizophrenic.
Yes.
How do you explain, and how can people come back together with their own either body or mind? Because now in this part of the world there is people who live for their bodies, or people who live for their minds.
They are ignorant, that's why they are in darkness, you see. They think body is very important. But I know people who have very good bodies also come to me, say, Mother, give us peace, you see, give us joy. So nobody seems to be satisfied. So they are in...
It's the other part which is missing.
But with this, the whole thing gets integrated. Your body, mind, your liver, your ego, everything. And the ego just disappears. You become egoless. You don't think you are doing anything, you think it's happening, it's just happening.
There is another idea that this sort of deep research brings you into a state of absolute, and maybe this absolute is a monistic idea. You feel by yourself, or the whole world is yourself. Now, listening to you, I get the impression that it is exactly the opposite, that you communicate with everybody. It's more of a communal approach than something which is lonely. And it is a miracle how, by coming into yourself, you reach out everybody else. Now, I think you would agree with me that it is wrong to think of Orient as something mystic, as something which is cut off the world.
No. It's universe. Now we have 56 nations we are working with this yoga. Especially in Russia, surprisingly, we have thousands and thousands of surgeons.
Very recently?
Yeah, very recently, about 3 years. Within 3 years, we've got thousands and thousands of them. You see, I think in the democratic countries, we had too much time to waste, like, you see, choices, this, that, all kinds of problems for nothing at all. While they were limited, and they had given up all this nonsense. They thought, whatever is available, like, you see, there's no solution, so give it up. And that's how they're very introspective, I think. So Russia and also Eastern Bloc people are in thousands who got realization. Also, of course, India, they know it, so we have in thousands also, I must admit that. But So many countries like Austria, Italy especially is now so fed up with all this going on in Italy that now they have taken to Surge Yoga very strongly, and all kinds of people are coming. So it is something that has to happen, was to happen, is already predicted and is taking place.
And tell me, we are referring to countries with a very strong tradition in religion. Say Italy is a very strongly Catholic country, Russia has an Orthodox past. How about the very different systems like Africa or like the United States of America? That this is the new world in terms of a sharp difference in the way of thinking and approaching the world. How is your message delivered there?
You see, actually, all these incarnations, whether it was Christ or Rama, Krishna, Muhammad, any one of them.
You call them incarnations of...
All of them, they are incarnations, see. They were born on the same tree of life, of spirituality. All of them. Like beautiful flowers at different times. But people pluck the flowers, you see. And now they are fighting with the dead flowers. So you see that there is no religion within, it's just outside, you see. We'll go to church, we can do anything. We can go to a mosque, we can do anything. We go to temple, do anything. I mean, there's nothing inside the religion. But with this, the inside religion is awakened and you become righteous. Really you become an angel, I tell you.
So tell me, you become an angel, but you still live in this world, and there is some things that we are used in referring when we talk about religions, and I'm wondering whether we could refer to this way of approaching truth and viewing the world as we already know, and I'm trying to refer to certain fixed ideas. Religions have ethics, and they have codes of living, codes of how you behave, how you make love, what is a sin, what is not a sin. Now, what is your approach in all these things?
See, my approach is such that by all, they have failed completely. Nobody does that. See, it's a fact we should face. Actually, when it is within, then you become your own master. You yourself know, like I would say an example. Supposing I'm holding a snake and there's darkness, I can't see. Now you tell me it's a snake. I will not accept. I'll say, no, it's not a snake. I'm holding a rope, supposing. But if there's little light, I'll immediately leave it. You don't have to tell me anything. In the same way, when you are enlightened, you see for yourself. We have seen people overnight giving up drugs. Overnight. Once they get realization, I don't have to tell them. They themselves do it because they have their own light, their own power.
What is a healing person for your way of approach?
It is our ego which tells us this is sin, this is not sin.
It is our ego.
And also conditionings. See, both things are there. That they say this is a sin. For some Muslim it is a sin, for a Hindu this is a sin. How can there be different types of sin? Sin could be, has to be universal, isn't it, after all, if it is a sin. So, when you get your realization, you realize that you are now above everything else. And you just don't do anything wrong. Just you don't do it. You don't like it. Just don't do it.
But you see, we have created a world that we have constructed this wrong. I mean, say, you are a Muslim and you have the right in marrying 4 women. And in our system, this is not accepted. Now, how can you know whether this is correct or not?
Now see, at that time, when Muhammad Sahib was there, you see, he was attacked. It was a tribe, and tribes were attacked all the time. And all the young people died, and there were very few men left. And he didn't want prostitution. So he thought this best is, now, let men can marry women who are now without marriages. So he believed in the marriage, and he said, you should marry. Now there were some young girls also. They couldn't get husbands. He said, still you should marry. Otherwise they would have become prostitutes. So to get rid of that thing, he said, all right. It is what we call in Sanskrit SAMAJ. According to the time, the incarnations act. For example, at this time of mine, my work is to give realization. That's all. My only job is to give realization to people. So I have to do that. So this is the time. in a growth of a tree, you see first there are roots and then there are shoots and then gradually it grows and it comes to a point when it becomes, say, the flowers. So I call it a blossom time because so many flowers are becoming fruits. So the time has come, is a time which is ripened for this new age to come in. And without that, we cannot solve the problem of our world.
I think it is a very pragmatic and very human way of approaching life, and you're right. But let me insist on that. I have, in front of me, a Holy Mother with the signs of the way, say, men treat women. You have a very obvious sign that you are married. I'm wondering, does this way of approaching the world affect the relations between men and women? What is the opinion of...
Marriage is very important.
Marriage is very
us,
important.
You see, marriage is very important. This year we had 86 international marriages. 86.
What do you mean international? Mixed?
International,
Okay.
between different countries. I mean, your one Greek lady was married to a French man.
I see.
So, and their children are realized souls, most of them are. Very surprising. They are very beautiful children they get. But out of these marriages, we should say 1% or 2% this problem still. But otherwise they are all very successful marriage, beautiful marriage, and they enjoy it. That's part of life. One has to marry. All this nonsense of not marrying and doing all these things, I don't believe in it. Because it's a natural thing. Whatever is natural has to be there.
And do you think that, say, the way that people get married in the Jewish tradition is different than the way they're married in the Methodist tradition? Now, would you then accept all these methods that people have, or they're used to, or they're born in, or how people get married according to your lifestyle?
See, in our lifestyle, what we do now, supposing somebody wants to marry somebody, it's all right. If they come and tell me, Mother, I want to marry somebody, it's all right. But we see the vibrations and things, and also, I mean, there should not be too much disparity and all that. But as we say, all right. But supposing they want that, we should select for them, say, then what we do, 1 month they are together in one tour we have. In that, we see their vibrations, we see their aptitudes, we have forms to say what is your aptitude, would you like to go to another country, what country you like, what's your height is, what's your education, and where have you been before for seeking and all that. So we get all the complete biodata of that person, and then we suggest that such and such person will be all right. In 1 month they see the person, if he fits or not. If they don't, they inform, then they can have another choice, whichever way they like. But it is not at random. We little bit guide them, because they should also know the background of the person, what sort of a person he is. Just you don't fall in love like that. So again you get into trouble. And it has worked very well, because it's such a understanding that they are marrying a person whom they know very well, and also they're marrying a person who has got these angelic qualities. So they do not fail.
And when you actually realize that after all this training and after all this hard time you give them for their good, the sake of their happiness certainly, that they suit each other, how do they get married? According to their own traditions, or according to the Hindu tradition?
Sahaja Yoga style of marriage.
There is a mystery, as we call it.
No mystery at all. There's no mystery in Sahaja Yoga. We talk about all the centers, take the name of all the centers and all the deities on the centers, and then we say, now by these centers you have to be married. And that's how they have to promise that they will look after their centers, they'll look after their life in a way that should be righteous, and that's how they get married. We have open system. There's no mystery in Sahaja Yoga, no mystery.
You see, it is very tempting the way that you approach the world, because it gives you no doubt that there is nothing in darkness. Now, let me take another phenomenon which is very old but very modern. We talk about love and people matching with each other. There is 2 men that want to live together, and we call them homosexuals. What is the way you approach that?
I think that's rather unnatural. Also, I've seen people who had this kind of problems. They came to me, they were possessed. A man was possessed by a woman. So he wanted to have a man, you see. But once the possession went away, he became very normal. Men are very easy. They take to married life very easily. But women, I think, if they are homosexuals, then they take some time to get all right. I don't know. Maybe emotionally they feel disturbed or whatever it is. But men are absolutely all right.
How would you describe normal and natural?
Normal person is that a man wants to marry a woman. It's normal. In India, we cannot even conceive this. I've never known before this kind of happens.
Do you think it hasn't happened, or we don't know of it?
No, maybe in India they might be doing something, but we had never known anyone like that. When I was in the medical studies also, I never knew that.
I'm sure that now that you come, you go around the world.
After coming to the West, then we discovered all this.
Of course, it doesn't happen only among men, it happens among women as well.
Yeah. But I think, you see, maybe some reasons also. I met one gentleman who was a guard of the Queen, and he became homosexual because his wife was very nasty, and she tortured him very much.
So you think there is always an explanation, something bad happening?
Yes. So he thought that it's better to have a man, you see, no problems, no quarreling. That's how he became. But when he came to Sajoga, and he got completely transformed, he got a nice wife, now he's having children, he's very happy. So I think it is abnormal conditions and problems that people take to this sometimes. There are many reasons for that, but it can be corrected if they want to. If they don't want, you cannot force it. You cannot force self-realization on anyone.
But you can accept them as people who try and to achieve
but once
purity.
They come to Sajoga, they change. Automatically.
Oh, can they remain unchanged in this aspect?
So far we didn't have anyone like that.
I see. Now, tell me about confession. It is something that we are familiar in Christianity. There is someone like, automatically when you hear about a Holy Mother, for instance, there comes a time that there is some hierarchy. Now, how is the hierarchy between mortals in...
We don't have anything like that. You see, when they come to Sajoga, mostly the Christians, Catholics and all that, they send me such letters describing what all wrong they have done, this, that. I don't ever read it. I just burn it off. It's not important.
You should return them.
Yeah, it's no good. Because past is past, finished now. Forget it. Why? It's over.
But how can they not repeat them if they're not aware that this is wrong, or there is something that they should pay attention?
What happens that it's all a game of the ego and conditioning. The ego goes on telling you did this wrong, you did that wrong, they feel guilty all the time. There's no need to feel guilty or anything. It just works out. See, you are human beings. After all, only human beings can commit mistakes. You are not gods. What is there to be so much angry with yourself for that? Just, you should know that you can become the spirit, which is a pure thing. Like we say that in the pond, you see, when you are in the pond, there can be worms and all sorts of things. But when you become the lotus, you are fragrant. You are above it. Nothing can spoil you. In the same way, you get that life, eternal life. So
that is true, but who tells you whether you are right or wrong?
You yourself.
But
I tell you, because you feel it yourself. That goodness within you, you feel it yourself.
You mean that when you are right, you feel it?
You feel it.
Even when you're wrong, you feel it?
Not normally. You see, right and wrong is a different concept. It is like this, that you feel, when you get this thing, you feel within yourself that you know the absolute, because you can use it. Say now, supposing somebody is suffering from a cancer. Now you put your hands to that person and ask, now what happens? You know the chakras which are catching. Immediately you know the person has cancer. He may not know, doctors may not know, but you know. Then you ask a question about yourself. Is it all right? You can ask. Because you are now one with absolute truth. So there's no question of anybody telling you about it, you just know. Like people will come and tell me, Mother, see, this Agya chakra is catching, is the center of Christ. That means that person is suffering from ego. But we never say, I am suffering from ego normally.
Especially from ego, we don't.
No one says that. So now what happens that when you come and tell me that my Agya is catching, means that you have ego, all right, it can be corrected.
It can be corrected.
Of course.
Now, we are dealing with treating the consciousness and health. Now, what is a miracle to you?
What is it?
What is a miracle? Does it mean anything, or is just
I don't think it's a miracle.
one thing among others? I mean, it's a way to...
Yes, it is your
to absolute.
In your evolution. You see, like, first they say we were chimpanzees. All right, take this case, chimpanzees. Now some chimpanzees became some other human beings. That, all those human beings have no more. Now we are there. So there's a big gap between us and the chimpanzees. Like us, who are realized souls, and human beings, there's a gap. Now how many human beings will become the spiritual beings, you can't say. They should. According to John, it is only 144,000, but I think we have already crossed the limit.
According to John?
John, the disciple of Christ.
Oh, I see. So you quote the apostles.
Yes.
I see.
So, but maybe his counting was wrong because we have already crossed the limit. I think. Whatever it is. So now, when you become the spiritual being, then these people are left behind. Now see how we are destroying ourselves otherwise. See, this AIDS business. You go to America and you are shocked. People are so nervous, they have schizophrenia, they have this disease, that disease. And all kinds of destructive things now, listening to this horrible music, they go deaf and they lose their hair and all kinds of things are happening. But always they take to something destructive. Everything, like a man sees somebody going in the pub and coming out and falling down. Another one pays to fall down again. I mean, you see, he can't see that this is destructive. But after realization, you see what is destructive and what is constructive. So a person who is realized starts rising much higher than the person who is not realized. And there's a big gap I find there is. But it can be crossed like that. In 1 month's time, he can change.
In 1 month's time?
He becomes an expert.
That's a very quick process. Now tell me, in all religions there is different stages, grades, as you grow up. Now, is there an education for small children? How are they introduced in this system of yoga? Young children.
See, young children, if they are born realized, they immediately know me.
So they can do that at what age?
You see, even very little babies.
Really?
They see me, they start smiling and just talking
Oh,
to me. Yeah, it's very sweet. And on the whole, children are very good for realization because they're pure souls, they're innocent. They're the best. I mean, normally, you see, nowadays, of course, we are getting very much worried about children because they're getting spoiled and this and that. But when they come to Sahaja Yoga, they become excellent children. Now we have a school also in India now, on the Himalayas. We have a beautiful school for children. And everybody says they're so mature, so wise, so sensible, so respectful. It's really worth seeing them, the way they behave and talk. Because you see, their spirit starts manifesting.
Now, would you describe a certain practice of prayers or anything else that is a must for some of your disciples?
There is no prescribed thing as such, but according to your centers. Now, if some center is in jeopardy or there's a problem with any center, then you should know how to cure it and correct it. And there are few things you have to do by which you can correct it. It's very simple.
It is?
Yeah, extreme.
Well, I'm sure that there is plenty of time for you to meet with people around the world as you travel non-stop. Now, tell me about...
But at the most 3-4 days I'm at home and then I travel.
You travel?
Yes. But I'm there for about 2 months with my family. They also come down here sometimes.
Now, how did this all started? I mean, now you are something of an apostle. I mean, how did it all... What is the inspiration for you to do all this? Do you consider yourself as the founder of this way of approaching truth?
But you see, actually, Sahaja Yoga is an ancient system. As I told you, it was only for one person they used to use. But what you say, if I am the founder of this mass movement, I am.
Right.
But it is all there already. It was there, all these things were there. Only thing, if I worked anything, is the permutations and combinations, as I said, about human beings. Why is it that they cannot get mass realization? any discovery, whatever it is, if it cannot be used by masses, is useless. And I've worked it out and it's done.
It is a system that approaches people. Now, how do you, tell us about your life now. You are really someone who preaches a new message around the world. How is it accepted?
Very much. Because this is a time, special time, modern times is called as Kali Yuga in India. It's the worst times, see. And all kinds of sins will be done, all kinds of things. They describe horrible things for this. But at the same time, there will be a category of people who are seekers of truth. And so many of them, it's already prophesied. William Blake in England, you see, he has written about it, that there will be men of God who will be born in those days, and they will have the capacity to become divine and make others. It's clearly described.
So him in another part of the world with his own education reached with his means what you reach in other ways. Do you have relationships, or do you meet with people who are leading figures of other religions?
Rather difficult.
Why?
Because, you see, they have set ideas. And most of the religions are either power-oriented or money-oriented. They are not spirit-oriented.
I see. Well, that is very serious.
It's a big problem, you know. If they were spirit-oriented, I would have loved to meet them and talk to them. But they are not. You see, this is the big problem.
And would you say you consider the people that follow you and live with you as a church?
Same thing with I was born in a Christian family myself.
I see. But then do you think it is as easy for a Christian as for anybody else to reach out and find this way?
Christians abroad are all right, because they think that they have started now thinking that they have to have something more than the church. The church is not sufficient. Like they are now closing down all the churches everywhere. So there's something has to be found out. But Christians in some places like India are not like that. They are not seeking. They think that the Christians abroad are saintly people. You see, also some of them believe that Christ was born in England. Can you believe that?
Well, I'm sure that if Christ appears like in British Gentleman, because the system we have made out of him is not Palestinian at all, and you realize that there is a twist anyway.
It is ignorance, complete ignorance about even Christ is there. But after Sajoga you realize who he was, what was his greatness. And really, I mean, you know what important work he has done. Without him, I could not have managed Sajoga. All of them are very necessary. And he is the last gate we have to open. And that's what he's done. But how contradictory we are. Like we say that he suffered for our sins. Still, why should we suffer now anymore? It's very contradictory that we should suffer for Christ. Why? You know, Father likes you to suffer. Why will he like you to suffer? So these sufferings and all this is not necessary.
Can you tell us how this group of people who live in the way you explained to us in Greece, what do they do? How do they live? I mean, people would like to know.
Oh, they are very dynamic people. They have doing very well in life. Most of them are very much improved in health and in every way. Their married lives have improved. Of course, in one or two cases, some of the very orthodox people have tried to trouble them, but most of them are very happy, doing very well.
Well, you seem to think that we are viewing a very healthy, if not wealthy group. Do you address poor people, miserable people, people that are desperate as well?
Poor people are, it's a more on the middle class work is better. Because poor don't have any money just now, they want to have food, so they don't think of spirit so much. But if you once have this spiritual awakening from the middle group, then they go to the poor and they can help, because there is free health services. There is also, these vibrations give you tremendous amount of energy to grow more food. You see, the crops improve, the cattle improves, So that's how you help your farmers. So that's how it works out. But the rich are difficult because as
They have it all.
they
are
think,
self-sustained.
they think we are all right. But money has problems, lots of problems. And so they also come, even politicians come. But I must say that they are rather slow people. Bureaucrats, politicians.
They are the slow ones. They keep the world not spinning enough. Now, how modern do you think such a message could be for young people who are, dealing with loud music and speed and violence and new ideas?
You see, this is meta-modern. I'm talking of meta-modern era,
Right.
where people will not have any violence because it's compassion and love. You feel the love for another person. There's no question of violence. In this meta-modern era, there will be no racialism, no fanaticism, no fundamentalism. All isms will drop out. Because isms are just conditionings and ignorance.
Isms are schisms.
Isms, they are isms. Saj Yoga is no ism. It is being. It is
Right.
reality. So you do not have these problems at all. After this, we have people from all over the world. I've never seen them quarreling, fighting. Of course, they pull each other's legs sometimes. They're very humorous and they enjoy life. Just enjoy. We are not bothered as to what their jobs are or things, but they are telling me that they are getting so many results out of this. Here only they told me that some of the photographers got first prizes for their photography. Some musicians got very high salaries and things like that, you see. So it shows that once you are in balance and in peace, you can achieve much more than when you are disturbed.
You see, you come into a country that has the idea of a very homogeneous total population that all belong to one ethnic group and they are one race and have one religion. And it is very useful for us in this country to realize that it is not so, that there is people who think in a different way, who approach the same truth and the same life in a very different way. Now, what will be your message when you will meet them tomorrow, apart from all that you have told us about?
For the people here?
Yes.
You see, actually, they have to know their heritage. This is their heritage I'm talking about. You see, they cannot learn anything from these Eastern people, Western people. You have to teach them. You can, because your heritage is here. You are so traditionally bound people. But somehow it is lost. I don't know why it's lost. If you can come back to it and the whole world can learn from you, no doubt about it. So it is so important and it is such a great discovery. Once you discover what you are, you know how glorified you are, how great you are. And the whole self-esteem and everything comes within you. And you become a very eminent, dignified and a very beautiful person.
You see, we've been listening to a wise voice that reminds us of our past, of our traditions, of the traditions of this country, of another country, and reminds us of how different we can be in seeking the one and only truth in very many different ways. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
अब हम सब श्री माता जी की चरणों में आरती करेंगे।
सबको दुआ देना, सबको दुआ देना। जय निर्मल माता जी, जय निर्मल माता जी। दिल में सदा रहना, माँ सबको दुआ देना, सबको दुआ देना, माँ सबको दुआ देना। जय निर्मल माता जी, जय निर्मल माता जी। दिल में सदा रहना, माँ सबको दुआ देना। जग में संकट कारण कितने अवतार, माँ कितने अवतार। विश्व में तेरी महिमा, विश्व में तेरी महिमा। तू गंगा यमुना, माँ सबको दुआ देना, सबको दुआ देना, माँ सबको दुआ देना। जय निर्मल माता जी, जय निर्मल जय निर्मल माता जी, दिल में सदा रहना, माँ सबको दुआ देना। मानव में अवतर के कर दिया उजियारा, माँ कर दिया उजियारा। कलयुग में माया है, कलयुग में माया है, फिर भी पहचाना, माँ सबको दुआ देना, सबको दुआ देना, माँ सबको दुआ देना। जय निर्मल माता जी, जय निर्मल माता जी, दिल में सदा रहना, माँ सबको दुआ देना। संत जनों की धरती है भारत माता, माँ है भारत माता। इस धरती पर आकर, इस धरती पर आकर, दुख से दूर करना, माँ सबको दुआ देना, सबको दुआ देना, माँ सबको दुआ देना। जय निर्मल माता जी, जय निर्मल माता जी, दिल में सदा रहना, माँ सबको दुआ देना। जब दिल में आए तब मधुर संगीत सुन लो, माँ मधुर संगीत सुन लो। होए सके जो सेवा, होए सके जो सेवा, हमसे करा देना, माँ सबको दुआ देना, सबको दुआ देना, माँ सबको दुआ देना। जय निर्मल माता जी, जय निर्मल माता जी, दिल में सदा रहना, माँ सबको दुआ देना, माँ सबको दुआ देना, माँ सबको दुआ देना। साक्षात् श्री साक्षात् श्री आदिशक्ति माताजी श्री निर्मला देवी नमो नमः। त्वमेव साक्षात् श्री कलिकी साक्षात् श्री सहस्रार स्वामिनी मोक्ष प्रदायिनी माताजी श्री निर्मला देवी नमो नमः। श्री निर्मला देवी नमो नमः। श्री निर्मला देवी नमो नमः। बोलो श्री आदिशक्ति माता जी श्री निर्मला देवी की जय।
श्री माता जी, आज इस ध्यान के माध्यम से जो आशीर्वाद और प्रेम हम सभी को मिला है, इनके लिए आपके श्री चरण में कोटि कोटि प्रणाम और हृदय से धन्यवाद करता है श्री माता जी। जय श्री माता जी।
Shri